South African authorities have arrived in Tanzania today following the arrest of a fugitive Thabo Bester on Friday. Tanzanian police say that the convicted rapist was apprehended alongside Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, his partner, and also traveling companion Zakaria Alberto, a Mozambican national who is said to have been assisting them. The SABC's Isaac Lukando has that story.
Whereabouts of runaway inmate Thabo Bester have been confirmed. South African media outlets were the first to confirm that he was in Tanzania and under police custody. The spokesperson for the Tanzanian police force, David Misime, has since confirmed the arrest of Thabo in the country's northern city of Arusha. Police say he was apprehended alongside Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, his partner and traveling companion, and one Zakaria Alberto, believed by some to be a Mozambican national. Authorities say communications of a legal nature are ongoing both locally and internationally. This is in line with an earlier statement by the South African authorities that the country's officials were headed to Tanzania to process Thabo's extradition. It is unknown when exactly the fugitive entered Tanzania or where he was headed to. What is known is that he has been on the run since his escape from jail became public last month. Isaac Lukando, SABC, Dar es Salaam.
Well, joining us in studio this morning to give us an update on the story is Sophie Mokoena, SABC News' international editor. Sophie, good morning and thank you so much for making time for us. So the delegation that has left South Africa yesterday have arrived now in Tanzania. Who are they?
Well, in terms of the delegation, it's led by the Deputy National Commissioner, who is also responsible for detectives in South Africa. And her name is Tibelo Musikidi. And of course, you also have Major Mudise, who is head of detectives from Free State, because in relation to Bester, this is where the crime was committed, him escaping from prison. You also have the SAPS legal, clearly legal. They'll be looking at legal avenues if they were to engage their counterparts on issues that are legally based. And then you also have the investigative team that was responsible or tasked with the responsibility of tracking down Bester after he escaped. And you also have the NPA. Clearly, the NPA will have to play a very important role if they were to look at the issues around extradition, because sending him back, it might be an easy thing when you look at deportation, because he entered the country with fraudulent documents, or they didn't even stamp the passports for the three. And also you have correctional service. Correctional service must be there because you know he was at the correctional service facility. The Interpol, that played a very important role in tracking him down in Tanzania. We are told that the crime intelligence of South Africa was in Tanzania. They were there for a week and they were following the leads. And when they saw him from Dar es Salaam on the morning when they were driving to Arusha with the intention to cross to Kenya, this is the group that was actually tracking him down. And of course, finally, when the Tanzanian authorities arrested them. And then finally, as I pointed out, the crime intelligence services, they are also there. They arrived much earlier.
Do we know what the process would be, considering that one, you have somebody who's been convicted, and that is Thabo Bester. The other two accomplices at this point haven't been convicted as yet, although we hear that the Department of Police is saying that they will be conferring charges against the two as well.
Well, what's likely to happen, you have two options. It will be deportation, as we often do with many illegal people in the country. That's a simple matter. You send them back because you have entered the country illegally. You don't even need long processes of law and courts. But when you evoke extradition, that's where it gets a bit tricky, because it has to be a court process. You have to convince the law enforcement agencies, the country, the courts in that particular country that this person has to go back because he or she is facing criminal charges, or he or she has committed a crime in your country, or like in the case of Bester, which is very easy because he is a convict. And therefore he can be in the country any minute, either using the deportation or extradition. But with Dr. Nandipha, that is why we saw yesterday announcement and her warrant of arrest making the rounds, because here government is being proactive, because if they have to use extradition, then you have this warrant of arrest. The Mozambican, the so-called Mozambican national, it gets even difficult, because this is he is not a South African citizen. Two, there's no warrant of arrest. We don't know whether they met him in South Africa or outside South Africa. We are told, or there are speculations, that they used Mpumalanga to Mozambique, and maybe they met there. And others are saying, no, it was South Africa, Zimbabwe. Maybe he was waiting at that end, because my suspicion is that this person is quite glued in terms of people trafficking. You know, this is the route that is very, very famous with movement of people, illegal movement of people and goods and services from particularly areas where there are conflicts in Africa coming down south. The problem we have of people with illegal status in the country, many of them, some coming from the areas such as East Africa, some Horn of Africa, others from Central Africa. They use that route of Arusha, Tanzania, and you know, until they end here in the south.
Do we know what the final destination was, or is, or was anticipated to be, and when they left the country?
It is not clear. It is not clear. These people who left a country when nobody was able to pick up that they've left the country. So it's not clear where they were going. But we are told that they had a number of passports with them, individuals. That speaks to they were intending to move to different countries on the continent. Clearly the second country was going to be, or the third one was going to be, the second one, if you look at Tanzania, from Tanzania, they were going to Kenya because they were 10 kilometers near the border of Kenya. Now, others are saying the intention was to go to the United Arab Emirates. You know, United Arab Emirates is becoming a problem for Africa in terms of illicit financial outflows and the fugitive hiding there. Because when you arrive in Kenya, if they were able to get their way to the airport, they can then get direct flight from Kenya to the United Arab Emirates, because Kenyan Airways does fly directly to the United Arab Emirates. Some are saying perhaps they were going to Somalia to hide there. You look at how they were disguised when you look at those pictures doing the rounds. So it is not clear. I think it will be clearer when the South African authorities have been able to speak to them. We are told that they've been moved from the police station in Arusha. They've been taken to the central prison because they are a risk, they are dangerous.
Thank you so much for your time. Sophie Mokoena is SABC News' international editor.